Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm going to call to order the council meeting for Thursday, June 27th, 7 p.m. to order. Welcome for everyone that's joining by Zoom and in gallery. Before we begin our meeting, we'd like to acknowledge that Stewiacke is a Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are joined tonight by our new CO, Mark again. Nice to have you here. Thank you. He's been working tirelessly the last week and a half, so it's not slowed down and doesn't plan to, so we've had a good start, Mark. Also tonight, we have our new finance manager, Helen, Thompson.
Yeah,
Yeah, here. Figure it out.
hello, everyone.
And Helen's, what, this is day,
2.5.
almost day 3, so welcome.
Thank you very much.
We're also joined tonight by our municipal advisor, Jason Hahn, to my right, Grant Cook, staff and planning advisor, and our solicitor, Charles Thompson. Welcome, gentlemen. And I'll introduce the other two ladies when it's time for your presentation. I see Dave there tonight. Hey, David. Looking for approval or changes to the agenda?
And then the agenda is presented.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Chapman. Second, please.
I'll second it.
Second by Councilor Osborne. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Number 5, approval minutes, April 25th, 2024, and it's combined committee of the whole.
Units 4.
Oh, I'm sorry. Looking for disclosure of interest on agenda items. Okay, hearing it none. Time to move on to 5. April 25th, 2024, the minutes for the combined committee of the whole and council. We're gonna do them separate. Are there any changes, deletion before I ask for that motion? Hearing none, but as a motion, please.
I'll make that motion that we accept the minutes for the combined session held on April the 25th, 2024.
Moved by Councilor Osborne, seconded by Deputy Mayor Chapman. Discussion on the motion. Question call, all in favor? Opposed? So moved. 5B.
Leave that. It's the crossing from.
Oh.
No, it's a truck backing up.
Number 5B, approval minutes, May 23rd, 2024, the combined committee of the whole to council. Any changes for the reasons? Hearing none, can I have a motion to accept, please?
I'll make that motion that we accept the minutes for the combined session of May 23rd, 2024.
Moved by Councilor Osborne, a second. Second by Councilor Roger Lane. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. We have no announcements or proclamations. But we do have a presentation tonight, and I'm joined by both Kenya and Lauren. Is that right?
Yes.
And they are with the Canadian Heritage River System, so welcome. We have about 15 minutes. If you get past the 12:13, I'll give you a little heads up. And again, welcome to the council. And after we're done, I'll open the floor for any questions or answers, or questions or putting forwards. So whoever wants to start,
Great.
you want to come up here, or
Whatever works best.
I can switch out if you wish.
It's up to you. I'm fine here too, because there's 2 of us, so maybe it'll be more straightforward if we stay here, so. So we're both from the Shubenacadie Canal Commission, and we're going to present tonight about the Canadian Heritage River System and nomination. So I am Tanya Bouchard, the executive director, and this is Lauren Schofield. She's our project researcher. So we will take about 15 minutes of your time, no more, and we're going to walk you through quickly. The outline is just to talk a bit about what the Shubenacadie Canal Commission does, the Canadian Heritage River System, and the nomination process, and then we'll have time for questions. So the mission of the Shubenacadie Canal Commission is to preserve the historic features of the Shubenacadie Canal waterway and to provide access to the waterway for the education and enjoyment of the public. The commission was established in 1986 through an act of legislature, and today it operates 9 parcels of land and also maintains the interpretive center. The commission has representation on its board from the East Cants, HRM, Colchester, and the province of Nova Scotia. And now I'll pass it on to Lauren to talk about the Canadian Heritage River designation itself, and then I'll pick up again later through the timelines.
So the Canadian Heritage River System, it's a bit of a mouthful, so I'll be calling it CHRS, save some time there. It is a national system that recognizes the values, both the cultural, recreational, and natural values of Canadian rivers. Once a river becomes designated, they become part of a network of rivers that are cared for by river stewards, and that can include communities, individuals, businesses, organizations, or anyone who wants to participate. It is important to recognize there is no legislative authority associated with the designation. This is entirely driven by voluntary participation. There are currently 41 heritage rivers in Canada, and they represent various different types of river heritage. Some more familiar examples include the Rideau Canal, which is an artificial waterway in Ontario, the St. John River, which, similar to the Shubenacadie system, it flows through both rural and urban environments, and the Fraser River in BC, which is a heavily industrial area. So as you can see, that these are all very different rivers, but they all have their own unique heritage and values. In the context of the Shubenacadie, we have been working with representatives from Nova Scotia Environment and Climate Change to guide us through this designation process. Currently, within the province, there are 2 heritage rivers, the Margaree River, Lake Ainslie, and the Shelburne River. We would absolutely love for the Shubenacadie waterway to be on this list as well. It has already been identified by a federal and provincial panel as a system that should be included within this program. And while it must contain the natural and cultural values of significance, it also must garner broad community support. The waters, shores, and the people of Shubenacadie hold thousands of years of marine wildlife, of settlement by diverse groups, of industry, engineering, and labor, of conflict in Canada's residential school system, of resistance, and of care for the environment and recreation. Support is growing for the waterway to be recognized for its cultural and recreational values especially. There are benefits associated with this designation. These include, but are certainly not limited to, supporting tourism by attracting people to the waterway and its associated activities, celebrating and supporting the connections of the Mi'kmaq people with the waterway. Funders and investors may also look favorably upon this designation, leading to potential funding opportunities for additional projects. And fostering cooperative river management by bringing together communities who have a shared interest in conserving the river and participating in recreational activities. It also provides provincial and national recognition to the importance of the Shubenacadie waterway. The process is a bit of a long one. It does take a few years. And this is in part to ensure we're building these relationships with people who do use the river and who have for time immemorial. And some of the key stakeholders that we have identified include the Shubenacadie First Nation or Shubenacadie First Nation, the Confederacy of Mainland Mi'kmaq, the municipalities, the Department of Environment and Climate Change, community organizations, residents, businesses, and also the Heritage River Advisory Committee. Currently, we have received support from the municipalities of East Hants, Colchester, and HRM. And we are now in the process of updating and completing a background study, which identifies those cultural, recreational, and natural values that exist along the waterway. We are partnering with the province to help advance this proposal and guide us through the process.
Okay, and as Lauren mentioned, it takes some years to get through the process. So our timeline right now, this is proposed, which we're aiming for, is 2023-25. We're working to support the nomination and complete and submit the background study. In 2025, the plan is to complete the nomination documents. 2026-27, complete designation documents. 2027, review and approval of designation documents. And we talked about, Lauren mentioned the Heritage River Advisory Committee. We are currently recruiting for people to join the committee. And the members represent key stakeholders and interests meet monthly to provide advice and recommendations that advance the Heritage River project. And the purpose is to guide the development of the Canadian Heritage River System background study and advise on the development of a community support plan for the project. We are also working on community outreach and doing public forums and workshops. And so today, well, if you know anyone who you think would be great to join the committee and advise on along the way, any insight would be welcome. So if you know people, you can share with us now, or you can send us an email. I can be reached at Tanya@Shubenacadiecanal.ca. And our other ask for today is that we're asking for your support for the nomination of the Shubenacadie waterway as a community heritage river. And that would look like a letter of support from the council. We have received a lot of support letters to date, but we're looking to engage all the communities because the committee looks very favorably on that, and any engagement we can do. If you know of ideas too of types of engagement we could do along the waterways with the community, let me know, because we'd love to partner and do presentations or programs or engagement with youth and with diverse groups that we have not reached yet. So that is it for us. If you have any questions, we're welcome. We're happy to answer any. If we don't have the answers, we will follow up.
Fair enough. So I'll open the floor. Councilor Burton.
Thank you. A few years ago, some people around this table might remember, we did have some presentations from the commission about perhaps looking at long-term, but extending the walkway that you have up the various parts of the canal, and also to include the Stewiacke River because of the confluence between the Shubenacadie River and the Stewiacke River. And I don't remember, it kind of fizzled out. I'm not quite sure whether that was our fault or it just didn't happen, but is that nothing to do with this, obviously?
No, that's separate. I recently joined 4 weeks ago, the Shubenacadie Canal Commission, but I will ask our board members about it. We are a nonprofit charity, so there's limited funds, and usually what we do is apply for grants and projects to support the financing of any engagement or types of structures. So I can ask them where that landed.
Seems to me there was some kind of funding at the time,
Okay.
but we also were trying to expand our trail down towards the river, and that didn't happen either, so we couldn't get access to all the way. The whole lands we needed. Interesting.
Okay, thank you for sharing. I'll look at where that landed and we can explore, see what's possible.
Councilor Hosford.
I just have a couple of questions. I guess, have you received support from Spinagany First Nation? Because they do use the river quite a bit for fishing and recreation purposes. I was just wondering where you're at with them.
We have approached them, but we haven't formally met yet. So there's interest, but we're just at the beginning of building that relationship.
How would the designation apply to like the uses already onto the river? Like there's a Bass River fishing derby every year. There's I know there's many Mi'kmaq cultural events that happen along the river as well. So how does that designation affect or not affect that?
It doesn't. So Lauren, we know more. Most recently, Lauren can probably best answer from.
So it wouldn't be changing any of the current uses of the river and any sort of actions that communities or organizations would like to take in efforts to conserve the river. That's completely voluntary. As it stands, it wouldn't have a direct impact on anyone who uses that daily. It's more just to bring awareness to what the river is and allow people to come and enjoy it as well.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Comments?
So you would like a letter of support from the town of Stewiacke?
Yes, we'd love to have that.
And is that will a concern letter sent to you, or is it sent to Heritage Commission, or who would it go to?
I can follow up on who do we address. I'm assuming that you'd address it to the Canadian Heritage River System. And saying that you support the Shubenacadie Canal Commission's process to the nomination. And we can send some wording to help provide some context. As I know drafting a letter from scratch with no details is not helpful, so we'll send you some information.
It's always helpful to have the right words in there that they're looking for.
Yes.
What you want us to say. I did some archaeology on the Vital Rocks a number of years ago. It was really. Just bringing back memories.
Any comments or questions? If not, thank you for the presentation, well within the time frame. I have to give them- You're welcome to stay for the council session. We have a council session and you can later. You're welcome to stay or whatever you may do. And please come back again. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Seven, or sorry, number six. Oh, we are, number 8. We have no written petitions for correspondence, so then move into number 9, which is business. And the first is report from business tourism, and I'll pass over to Councilor Furman, please. Report from us.
Just thought, Katie wanted to advise council on what we've been doing and entertaining any questions, or it's FYI. Other than that,
You're busy. Very busy, very engaged.
It's a great community and a place that's very busy.
I get a chance to sneak in once in a while and I'll get a backseat, but. Okay. Thank you, Councilor.
Was there, did Foodland have were they able to nail down a date to start the, transportation with CTCL?
not yet.
Okay,
Yeah, maybe July.
okay.
Okay, we're moving to number 9B, and that's a request for decision Dennis Park Playground. And I'll pass over to.
Can I just ask a point of order? Do you need a motion to just accept the business report? In terms of process, just ask.
Oh, we usually have not had, that's when the extra year and I am, it's a report.
Well, we've changed the way we've done it actually lately, so I think it was more of an FYI. There's no action in it.
No, actually, that's fine, so. Okay, thank you. So pass it to you, please.
All right, for council's information, just going back, Aaron Richards was in a couple of weeks ago to talk about the Dennis Park project, the replacement of the playground equipment. She gave a presentation to council on the RFP process. We're just bringing forward the request for decision tonight. The original report is just Dennis Park Playground slowly is degrading and requires repairs. The request for proposal was posted on the procurement Nova Scotia website in accordance with our purchasing policy. Staff recommendation is the town award the Dennis Park Playground project to Cobequid Trail Consulting Company, which was option 3 in the amount of $97,064 plus HST. I believe there was a debate and question period when Aaron presented. The report is as follows.
Before I call for the motion, any questions?
Yeah, I need to bring forward some, there were some concerns brought to me regarding the playground, a few things. One, I think it was mentioned on Facebook that it was a mud kitchen. And I know it's much more than that. It's for, I saw it in here, I don't have the thing, but there was multiple structures, so I just wanted to bring forward, so they were concerned that we were paying 94,000 or 97,000 for a mud kitchen. And I know there's more. Do we have, I don't have my paper there, I had that, do you have it?
I have it. Just give me 2
Just
seconds.
wanted to clarify what the structure, type of structures were,
Was that on our Facebook for the town?
and not on the town face. It was,
Please note that.
and the person that spoke to me, saw it.
It's all on the, Facebook.
Yeah, and their other concerns was, why spend 97,000 on a structure that has a shelf life of 10 years or whatever? And then is this the right time to be spending that money when there's so much else to do?
I can give this to you if you want it. It's the whole. It shows all the structures. I don't know if you. Sorry. Two short people.
Compact size. That'll be it.
So we did have 150,000 approved in our capital budget
Mhm.
for upgrades, and I believe there was a grant. Now, I know we can't factor into the motion, but there was a grant that was knocking the 97,000 down, I believe, as well.
So it's less than we budgeted for, plus there's the grant.
I think
Exactly.
it was 3 different structures. wasn't it?
It was a-
3 or 4, that's what, yeah.
There was a climbing structure.
Yeah.
There's that pirate structure, the climbing, which was, I think, the climbing one, and there's the.
There was was an option 2 that they were recommending, option 3.
Yeah.
So the 3, there was a
There it
a
is.
sand kitchen, a pirate climbing tower. And then there's surfacing border paths. And then there's the restored, like an outside an outside classroom. And then a pump room, a kitchen. So there were multiple structures in that. But I wanted to bring those concerns forward with the decision.
Thanks.
Any other comments or bring forward before I call the motion?
I just have, I too had a lot of calls on it, and was thankful that we had the package, so I just. If you can pass my thanks along to Aaron for giving us a detailed report, it was made my life a lot easier answering questions. The only question I had, I guess, was about the warranty and can we go back, like, and what all that. Like the lifespan, and I think she did tell us it would be roughly 5 to 10 years on different parcels of it. But we are well under budget. And with the $20,000 grant that is coming, I see no reason not to move forward with it.
Okay, I'm sorry, Councilor.
I was just gonna say, I make the motion if you're ready.
Item, please.
So I would move that Stewiacke Town Council award the Dennis Park Playground Project to Cobbwood Trail Consulting Limited, option number 3, in the amount of $97,064 plus HST.
Second by Deputy Mayor Chapman, discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been asked. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Thank you, Council. Number 9C, it's a request for decision, and that is commercial development district amendment. That's your package. Back to you, Mr. again. Thank you.
Sorry, bear with me, I'm taking minutes at the same time. I think I'm the best doing the meeting. So this report, came to council before I joined the town, was supplied by, interim CEO Kevin Matheson. Just the origin, the council passed second reading on May 23rd of amendments to the municipal planning strategy to create a special commercial C3 zone. At the same meeting, council also amended the land use bylaw to rezone the property at 12 Main Street east to C3. The owners also requested council to include the property in the commercial development district. The recommendation before you is staff respectfully recommend that Stewiacke Town Council approve the addition of 12 Main Street east to the commercial development district for the purposes of the commercial development district improvement bylaw. Once the rezoning of the property to C3 has been proclaimed on the town website. I understand this was a healthy debate in front of council a few weeks ago. Open the floor to questions.
Second call. Hearing none, have a motion, please.
I can make a motion that.
So I'll recommend that Stewiacke Town Council approve the addition of 12 Main Street East to the Commercial Development District for the purpose of the Commercial Development District Improvement Bylaw once the rezoning of property to C3 has been proclaimed by the town's website.
Moved by Councillor Roger Lane, second please.
Second
Second by Councillor Boots, discussion on the motion.
questions.
Questions? Paul? All in favor?
No.
Opposed? So moved. Sorry, who's second? Councillor Boots. Yeah, so also. Number 9D, and that's the wastewater treatment plant assessment, 224, P award.
Okay, the report in front of council, a recommendation is the Stuyak Water Treatment Plant assessment report we received, and the town award the contract to CBCL Engineering for $24,557. And with the mayor and CAO, we authorized to execute the agreements. The background on this, the RFP again was released prior to my joining the town. It's request a proposal for the Stuyak wastewater treatment plant assessment. This is to assess our equipment and the requirements to upgrade the site equipment into the future. I'm aware that there was a question from a councillor regarding the cost assessment. We requested a cost assessment D. We would assess what the needs were on the facility. And then if we need a change order to reassess the costing based on what the determined upgrades will be, we'll get to more in-depth costs from there. The first stage is determining what we're required to do to upgrade, and then we'll get the cost estimates.
Any questions or comments about the injury? See, Councillor Walker,
I have a few questions.
or George.
On that Class D estimate, it is in the scope right now of the work, right? So, from our previous CAO, and he informed us that a Class D estimate is like a shot in the dark. So, I'm just, I'm really cautious. I know it's $24,557. However, I would hate to see us go down a path that we went through with the well water study and have change order after change order after change order and spend money after money after money. So that's my concern. And then I know there is a difference between an RFP process and a tendering process. And I guess I'd like your opinion on whether we should be using the RFP process or a tendering process. And then the third and final is, where's this funding coming from? Is this coming from a budgeted item that we already have, or is it coming from somewhere else? Those are my three.
So to answer your questions, the budget is coming from an already approved source. I can get that exact source for you. Helen is on day 2. We have asked for the financial reports on that. I'd be happy to report back to council. Your question regarding using an RFP or a tender, the correct approach for this for procurement is an RFP. A tender would be issued once we know the exact scope of the equipment we would require. So this RFP will have an expert come in, and I think the Class D cost assessment is based on when they assess and say we need certain upgrades. There will be different technologies being used for those upgrades. So then staff and the consultants work together, figure out what the most appropriate pieces of equipment are. And then once we figure out that future and what the upgrades are, we can then move into the Class A, B, C cost estimates. At which time we'd work with a firm to create a tender package. And then the next stage would be issue a tender to the contractors that would come in based on the scope we would develop.
So this is not coming from the funding that we just received.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to call for that motion, please.
We can make the motion that, council, the town of Stuyak approve or award, excuse me. The contract to CBCL Engineering for $24,557. I'm assuming that's in plus agency. And that the mayor and CAO be authorized to execute agreements with Stewiacke wastewater treatment plant assessment contract.
That's moved by Councillor Thurman, seconded please. Second by Deputy Mayor Chapman, discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you, Vanessa.
I've never worn.
Okay, number 9E, that's the development update. Give back to again, please.
Thank you, Richard. Before we get into the report, I'd like to acknowledge the fact that this is a very complex issue. This is the very beginning. And I think we can acknowledge from the council and staff that we want to be as transparent as public with the information and bring the information to the public, have an opportunity to comment and do this correctly. I'm joined tonight by Grant Cook, who's our town planner, Charles Thompson, who's our town solicitor, and Jason Hahn, who's our municipal advisor from the provincial level. As we lead into the conversation about development and the infrastructure upgrades or capacity issues that we have, we want to make sure that we bring the correct people to the table. And we brought our team that can answer your questions tonight. What you have before you is a recommendation that would direct staff to engage the PAC to meet in July to discuss proposed amendments to control development and to schedule a public meeting to receive comments before making a recommendation to council. We've been very strategic about that to provide the opportunity for the correct committee to be engaged, but also to provide the opportunity to get to a public hearing, at which time we're able to field questions, concerns, and address questions by the development community and the community at large. So in front of you tonight, what we've done is we've provided a number of 4 different options. We're happy to discuss those options, and Grant has led his planning expertise, and Charles has brought his legal expertise. Jason is going to help us weed through any questions we have at the provincial level to get through the requirements of the MGA, to get any correct answers that we need. And we'll start the open and transparent process to bring this forward.
Thank you. So I'm gonna open the floor up, just in terms of there's 4, I guess, options in front of us, and let's say yes, 4. Vary from the moratorium in place to no action, so. It's time, this is a good time to try to read through this. We have our experts here. Mr. Thompson, maybe you could give an overview, well, not being premature, but just about the legal situation that the town has in terms of responsibilities and such.
I certainly can. Any discussion, questions of a legal nature or sort of legal discussions about risks and those sorts of things probably should be handled in camera as said at the MGA. I think the report itself from the CAO sets out the options fairly clearly. If council has any questions about council's authority to go down the road of any of these recommendations, the pros and cons from a legal perspective, yeah, I'm happy to answer those. But again, that probably should happen in camera. And obviously it's up to your worship and council, when and if you want that to happen.
So in general question we could possibly ask, if not table them for any camera, maybe you stay for that.
I would
If
suggest
that's
that.
consensus on that, okay. It's important that we don't put risk to the town and to ourselves with this discussion. I brought this forward as a cause. It's been quoted in the newspaper as a moratorium. That was not the bring forward. It was a pause to look at possibilities. And Mark very quickly reached out to Jason the same next day, I believe, was in the office, and just get a good conversation going. There's been feedback from both the public, citizens and the developers. Brian and I today had a discussion for a bit of a time with, developers' concerns, with the phase that they're in and such, and as I said before, we just do not have the numbers in front of us. That capacity, and it's concerning, and I feel it has to be dealt with at some point. But we do not want to, or we cannot supersede the process, and having to go back to planning and advisory and having Grant here to advise. Grant, is anything you can bring forward in terms of the options in front of us from a planning or from your expertise?
Well, yeah, options 2 and 3 there, that they're the ones that, one is, you can use a section of the municipal government to prohibit development or certain classes of development. That's one route to go. Option 3 is, to use development agreements to control uses potentially that are heavy water users and control developments that way. We don't have development agreements yet, although we've been talking about them for a while. We now have a qualified development officer that has experience in development agreements, so I feel more confident that we can use them going forward for sure.
I think I would add to that, I think there's been some conversations about the WSP report that has come forward, and I think we've approached them in the last few weeks, and we've been promised a new draft in this 1st and 2nd of July that hopefully will give us the numbers on the water capacity that we've been asking for. So we're gonna keep drilling down. We want to make sure to do this correctly. Aging infrastructure is a big problem, an expensive problem, and we've got a huge growth in terms of our community coming our way. So we need to do this right, and this will start the conversation.
So am I hearing correctly that WSP has said that they can provide us a range for those numbers capacity?
WSB is committed to giving us a new draft of the report, and I can't comment on exactly what was conveyed because I was not here. That was part of interim CEO Kevin Matheson's correspondence with WSP. So as I get into the role and get past day 8, I will get more information for council and bring it forward.
I guess the reason I asked that, we've been asking that, and Kevin and his predecessor, Mr. Brown, to CDCL and WSP, and basically my understanding was we could not get the numbers for capacity, so. I guess I'm concerned, not with your situation, but just with them bringing it forward now. It would be great if they do. That would save us a whole lot of problems and give us a direction to go. Jasper.
Do we know, what permits are approved but not executed?
That's a great question. We had that discussion on Friday with Jason Fox from Truro, who's our development officer. He's able to print a report off for us. We have not received that report yet, but there's a number of properties that are in the queue to either receive permits or have permits. And if we need to report to council on the number of permits that are in the queue, I believe that'll be part of the process that we bring forward to give us a better idea as to what we're actually looking at.
Yeah, I think for me, some of it, it's time we decide this, or start to work towards a decision, but knowing a little better number about what we can draw from the river and how fast we can process it and what's outstanding might help push us in the right direction. That's one of my being on the business and tourism committee. You kind of hate to try and stall all this wonderful growth that we've been waiting for since before I was on council. However, I realize we have to make sure that we do the prudent thing, so.
And as I said to a developer today, this also, when it was quoted from whatever source, from the CDC. This also protects, in essence, the developer. If you put up X number of units and all of a sudden you're not out of water, then there's a whole different conversation to be had about liability. So this is not to stifle, it's to add frustration. I've seen it, I know we all have, as we came to the table, we've been going in circles with this, question over and over. So hopefully, that report will come in and give us some insight. Councillor Osborne.
Just to follow up on Counselor Krillman, not just the number of permits, but the number of units. Cause there's a difference. I did see in the report that there's a couple of apartment buildings, but no number, like said one is for 75 units and the other is for 20 units. It says at the end of Riverside. Do we know which end of Riverside?
I don't know.
Yes, well, it's the one where the new, the fall, just where basically, did you notice the development in the back of that? They're proposing to add more units there.
But there's new ones on both ends, Grant, so which end?
It's the end,
By the railway track
it's the end,
or by the?
if you go down the street by the church there.
Oh,
No, that's on the left, yeah,
by the garden, how's the garden?
Past the Guardian?
yeah,
So, okay, so by the railroad
yeah.
tracks.
yeah, by the-
So where's the room to put another apartment building there?
There, you have a driveway. Like a,
So in behind those houses?
yeah,
It's not large.
And it's been approved?
I don't know, like, Jason, I think it's in the queue, as Jason said, I'm not sure he approved it yet, but.
So where they were putting all the fill?
Yes.
Okay, and so we don't know if that's been approved or not?
I think it's close, but I don't know if it's been approved or not.
And the question, I don't think can be answered from any three gentlemen. Once that process starts and they bring forward ask for a permit, is that classified as in the queue as in terms of numbers?
I think my understanding is that applications for permits are somewhat confidential, actually. So, I mean, the way the process works, you know, the applications come in, the development officer looks at, what's being proposed. Looks at the land use bylaw to see that it meets, and then makes a decision. If it meets the land use bylaw, he's obligated to issue a development permit. Along with that, there's also has to be a building permit applied for, which is often at the same time. But that's to do with building itself, not with development permits, more on the use, the location of the building, the height, things like that.
If they're doing it in phases. In terms of phase 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, such a period like this. And they're asking for the next approval, the next phase. I assume that's in the queue from start to finish, or is that sequential?
That would be, right now, that's just subdivision. That's just a subdivision in that.
Right.
So they won't be asking for development permits. So after the roads are built, so probably 2 or 3 years.
So different phases, so that phase 1 would be the road building. and-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councilor Osborne.
Just a couple of other things, sorry. I just see that it asks that a public meeting be held before a recommendation coming from council. My concern is, my concern isn't about having a PAC meeting in July, that's up to the committee. But my concern is trying to have a public meeting in July or August, which then would further delay any recommendation coming from this table by at least 2 months. Because I'm sorry, you're not gonna get public out in July and August. I can't see it, maybe you will. And then I guess my other part of it is, and I'm not sure if it can be answered now or later, but shouldn't we be looking at adding something into our land use bylaw now to cover everything, such as whether it's a development agreement, a permit, subdivision grant, whatever, that it's all pending water and sewer capacity. And that way we're more prudent in our planning. Because if that's there, you don't need to take it out, whether it's 10 years from now or 20 years from now or 6 months from now. Because if you have the capacity, great. If you don't, then you know we have to build it again. And again, I don't know if that's for the answer for now or later. I'm not quite finished.
Okay.
So the other part of that is though, regarding I'm concerned when you talk about Riverside, because I had residents talk to me, and I don't know what the zoning is in behind those houses that butts onto Dennis Park. But I would really like staff to come back with that, whether it's just to me or to the whole council, what that zoning is, because I thought that was a green belt zone. I did not know that you could build in behind those houses.
So we have, I guess, a separate issue that ties in, but fair way to put it.
Yeah.
Again, I think the biggest thing is, we're elected, we never do diligence, but we also have responsibility not to put the town at risk also. And if there's a lot of factors, that's why I have these three gentlemen here tonight. My concern again is that if we leave it too long, and I know it's new council coming in, and I have full faith that the process will happen. I also hear Councilor Osborne talk, when you're noting about summertime, it is bad, we don't usually meet, we'll make an exception if we couldn't meet in June for planning and development. What's the feeling around the table, I guess? What's the factors?
That we should have a meeting.
Like we didn't do it in council in the summer months, or we able till September for a better audience. I know we had another hearing and nobody showed up. So, and that was back before the summer months, so.
And would we be able to accept written correspondence as attendance at the meeting, like if? So I mean, that's an option.
Well, Mr. Clark, what's your feeling? You've been here.
Well, we do have a meeting scheduled for July 3rd. And I guess I would be asking the committee what they thought of holding the meeting. I get their thoughts on it. If they felt that they would not want to hold one because of lack of attendance or they couldn't make it, then we have to wait till at least for another meeting. See, like one of the agenda items I was putting out there was the scheduling a public meeting to gauge the input before PAC actually makes a recommendation to council on which way to proceed. There's a couple of ways we could proceed, and that would be a discussion at the PAC level. And specifically to deal with this capacity issue. That would be the focus now of the PAC work as I see it. We did do other amendments or potential amendments. One was on accessory dwelling units, another one was on development agreements for apartments over 3 units. I have a sense that those can be put on the back burner for now and then concentrate on this more. It's turned out to be a more pressing issue, which is a lack of capacity.
Council, some direction in terms of steps, I guess.
So I guess Councilor Rogers Lyons on the committee, I'd like to hear from her on what her thoughts are on holding the committee meeting in July and holding a public participation meeting. I just have a real concern that you're not gonna get the engagement.
Summer is hard, like I had to send my regrets in for July 2nd, because I do plan a lot of my life. Over the last 8 years, a Penn Council has always run, which isn't meeting in the summer. So I make a lot of other commitments during those months, so as I said, I already sent my regrets for the PAC meeting on the 3rd, so I do think. Yeah, people are busy and stuff, there's vacation, there's. More extracurricular activities in the evening, as far as routines go in the households, and it's just a different time.
The other thing came forward from your desk is the WSB report saying. I'll be optimistic. Numbers, and again, that we give more information or education to the committee and the council. I guess the left shore worried we keep putting it off. I don't want to have this put off for 6 months or 4 months. But we have to need the information for us.
So could we not, again, if this shouldn't be answered now and maybe in camera. Could we not look at my suggestion of making a recommendation to amend the land use bylaw to include pending water and sewer capacity? That would make us more prudent. And if the capacity is there, then it just continues. Like, it doesn't slow anything down, right?
Can I ask a question on the process? Because wouldn't that still require public hearings?
It would, you're right.
And also with, the way the MGA is set up, if it's as of right development, there's no way of tying that approvals of those to other, to capacities or capacity. We can do it through development. So, you know, it depends on how many uses you want to do by development.
Are you aware of any other municipalities, Mr. Cook, that has a situation or the other two different people here that have, like East Hampton, I believe there was some issues with this and also some clauses put in place in Shubenacadie. Just even comment on Mr. On.
I don't know if any other municipalities are in this particular situation. And especially where we're talking municipal unit wide as opposed to development agreements. I'm not.
Could I make a suggestion to council? Just, this is a really complex issue. I think some of the questions that Councillor Osborne bring up brings us into the need for a closed session to get some legal advice. I might recommend amending the recommendation and just take out the in July 2024 date. And make the recommendation that council directs the PAC to meet to discuss the proposed amendments. And then following this council meeting, I can meet with the chair and the members of the PAC. We can recommend when that PAC comes to the table, whether or not it's next Wednesday or following the WSP report. We meet as a PAC, get the recommendation from the PAC as to when to host the public meeting. And we proceed from there. And that way the resolution gets us through this report, gets council the ability to ask the proper legal questions and planning questions, and gets us to where we need to be without committing us to a date.
Yeah, just, that sounds reasonable to me, and I think we're probably 2 weeks out from WSP. I would assume it will take staff time to get us some numbers of the permits and units in the queue and some of those things to help. I would assume it'll take a bit of time to gather that information, so that when it goes to PAC, then that there'll be more to talk about or to more information to help.
I would agree with that comment.
So we're meeting, I believe we have quorum next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, but I mean, if the wish is the way to get the extra information from the report, then we just postpone that or till.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, take our summer break like we usually do.
So bring this forward in September.
Yeah,
Or the PAC could meet in August and have a public meeting in September, so that we don't delay it.
I guess to be honest, August, it's not gonna work for me, time frames unless we really juggle a lot. But I mean, this is important too, so I'll do my best, for that. We have another member here tonight. How's your commitment, David, for the summer? Pretty on the spot.
Well, number one, you're supposed to be non-retired. So it's basically my time. And I have no evening commitment in the way that would interfere with having a meeting. Any commitment that comes up is like 24 to 48 hours. Basically, it's gonna be about you.
Yeah. So we're looking at I guess, max week August anyway, in terms of getting the WSP report, the numbers, I should say, council throwing them together. Staff will commit to working with the PAC members to find the appropriate date. That's right, does that work?
And then that will be communicated back to us.
Correct.
I have one more question about, and I don't know if this is for now or for the camera, and that's on the communication of all of this. So I don't know, maybe is that a new camera thing? Or is it-
Well, they can comment, I think it's essential for us to be as transparent and open to the public as possible. We'll develop communications along the way, and I think, the word stall development came up here, and that's not the intent here, the correct, way to talk about this, we're going to do it right, girl, what's gonna happen. We need the time to have a plan to do it correctly. Because I think we're all aware a lot of things haven't been done correctly in the past, and now it's time to do it correctly, so the proper plan and plan for the future is to get. So we don't impact the residents and the current businesses that are here.
Well, and there's fear mongering, so or there's sensationalism, that article in CBC, I was shocked at the way they made it sound like one of our members went to Calgary, saw a water main break, and called the call from Grafton's to do that, like, that's not what happened. And I also, a question, sorry, Mayor, if they had the right to, I'm assuming those quotes were taken off of our recorded session. That was, I'm assuming they didn't interview those who they quoted. Is that clear?
I'm just gonna be, I was contacted and my response was, there would be no conversation from me as mayor and chair. And until we had time to bring this through proper steps. So I would caution that.
And so I'm assuming you were not
I was-
specifically interviewed.
I was not.
You're
interviewed.
quoted now.
So that worries me, that can make an article.
Yes.
So do we have to put a byline, this may be a new camera, but do we need to put a byline on our recording so things aren't for parts to be taken out? I don't know, I'm very
I
concerned.
think it choose.
I would think, I defer to Charles or in camera, but I think once we're on public record, the media can pick and choose how they
Really, yeah.
take the information.
That's too bad.
We've chosen to be transparent, and I think that's great. This information and video goes on YouTube. It's up to the public to decipher, and they can do what they want with.
Thank you.
I think it's important that you can sit down and the residents. And about each step we're taking and.
And Mark and I have been talking about it for a couple of days and find it, who gives what and have a united voice and it's not to critique of the whole, it's just, there's not misinformation and cherry picked, so it's, let's put it there.
Yeah, I think in the week and a half that I've been here, I've talked to a number of developers and business owners, and I've said my door is open, we will have coffee, we'll have lunch, my door is open, come and let's chat, we'll hear their concerns. And we'll be as upfront with the information as we can, we're there to help. I think this week we went to, got the spray pen for MGM this week, talking about pens being in the, but to actually go into a factory like that, that's got a really successful business, bringing jobs to the area. There was concern about the water use in the plant. Once you take a tour of that, you can see the little water that they use. They have a staff washroom, a kitchenette, and 2 small machines that have a bathtub size reservoir for water that they keep for 2 weeks and then replenish. Very little water from that factory. So the more information we get from the proposed business owners, we can figure out what the actual consumption rates are. And we can dictate to them with their engineering reports and they come in with their planning studies and their plans. And you just show us what they're going to use. So we have the numbers to put that on our facilities. So we'll just keep communicating with the business owners, the residents, make sure they have the correct information, and we're here to help. We're not here to hinder their business.
Before I ask for a motion or bring forward, is there anything else that Michelle Grant, Jason or Mr. Thompson, you can bring the conversation? Okay. So you want to just kind of take that?
Yeah, I think that the motion was amended to remove the July 24, and that the motion would be that council directs the PAC to meet to discuss proposed amendments to control development and to schedule a public meeting to receive comments before making a recommendation to council. And the staff commitment is that we will work with the chair and the members of the PAC to determine the correct date when they will meet, and the PAC will direct us when to host the public meeting.
I just have a question on that, because does that not limit us from making a recommendation tonight if we want to make a recommendation tonight?
There's no recommendation to make tonight other than to direct the PAC to meet. That's the.
Okay, this says and to schedule a public hearing, a public meeting. So
okay.
do you want,
To control.
so
Well,
should
we
we,
will be scheduling a public meeting based on PAC meeting, so we'll define what the date will be, so.
so should we take out before making a recommendation to council? Because what if council decides to make a recommendation tonight after we hear everything?
Public consultation, you mean?
Well, I guess depending on the answers that we get on in-camera session on the questions that I asked about trying to be prudent now. This would limit us from making a recommendation. That's all my concern is.
You're asked about of the 4 recommendations within the report.
Before making a recommendation to council.
I would caution council on making a recommendation tonight until we have the WSP
Oh,
report.
yes, right.
That
Yeah.
information is going to be crucial for you to
Yeah.
make the decision.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
I would.
This is a direct.
Correct.
Yeah.
This allows us the time to do this properly.
Okay,
So with that, that's what Mr. Stephen said.
I'll make that motion that council directs planning advisory committee to meet to discuss proposed amendments to control development and to schedule a public meeting to receive comments before making a recommendation to council.
I'll second this.
Councilor Osborne, second by Deputy Mayor Chapman, discussion on motions.
Questions?
Question has been called, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you, council, for your discussion.
That's where the second was.
Good idea.
I wasn't sure. I thought-
It was the
Helen, we can have some fun here sometimes too. You're welcome anytime, but there's no better way to spend the evening. Okay. I say, everyone, number 10, that's bylaw and policies. A is audit committee policy, and I'll pass over to council for any case.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, the committee, and staff, cross-referenced all our different committee's terms of reference to our citizen appointment process policy. And the audit committee was the only one that didn't line up. So the only change in that proposed attached, policy amendment that's attached is on page 2. Section 4.1 bullet 5. And it just is a clear reference to the citizen committee appointment process policy. It's hard to say.
That's the only. Any questions to the chair? Okay, hearing none, have a motion, please.
So I would move that council would approve the amendment to the audit committee policy, and the policy number is 2019-44.
Moved by Councilor Flynn, second by Councilor Lutz. Discussion on motion.
Question.
Question, Mr. Hall, all in favor? Opposed? Anybody in favor, turn their movie back on for a couple minutes.
Even unworn. Even unworn.
No, just stop in and ask in church. I assume I'm up here one night, it was so cold we could hardly stand it. I walk in, no. New CEO, maybe. Okay, we're gonna move into citizen comments, and we want you to check online and see if we can, anybody have any comments to make, and also in the gallery.
I have nothing to do with it.
Can't see any hands raised. I believe there was six at the morning. No comments in the chat.
Is the chat enabled? Like, I always get messages afterwards that the chat was not enabled.
They're just for diverse.
Really?
You can break in your body.
They're right.
Going to double check on the chat. Chat and signal, so it's a good question. Okay, I must apologize. I am not IT savvy with Zoom, so I will check on that for the next meeting and get that issue resolved. Same as I noticed that when I logged in, I was able to share my screen, and I intended on sharing the canal presentation from my computer onto the screen, but it's not enabled here to allow participants to share. So I'll check on those two IT items.
Moving to my reports in front of you, just a couple highlights, raising of the progressive flag in Dennis Park, funding announcement for 2.5 million with, Larry Harrison, certainly welcome to And then Indigenous Day celebration in Millbrook, for Pride celebration in Truro. Minus, which was missing by the sheet IS. AGM in Halifax. 25th, TC BEP AGM in Truro, and then to bring back meetings in Battle Hill. And 26th last night, Raleigh committee members meeting. That's my report. That's sort of council, with Deputy Mayor Chapman, who provided a great report, which I can't copy and paste because you signed it.
Oh.
So, for you, Mayor.
I attended the progressive flag raising here in Finland. I attended the library board APM in regular board meeting. I attended the REMAC meeting. And I just wanted to say what a great turnout, what a great day for the Food Bear Festival, and the air show was great. Awesome. That's my report. My apologies for not having it in the packages. Get to write it up, I think.
It's here now.
Yeah.
Council Roots.
I also attended the progressive flag raising and audit committee meeting.
Deputy Mayor or Council. Also, please.
I also attended the progressive flag raising. It was a wonderful turnout. As well as the library board meeting and the AGM. I guess I just want to make a comment. Our CAO has only been here a week and a half. I want to thank him very much for his engagement with both council and with the public. And acknowledging that we need to do things right. I just want to say thank you. I also want to welcome our finance manager, and it's nice to see you in person, and we will see you again.
And I've been in note a lot today, and Helen, you handle grace under pressure. We had a rough day today with some technology and issues, and I hope I didn't stay here too much and helped out anytime we called. Thank you, and welcome to the same to you, Mark. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go in camera, so I have to ask that both. Please, you're welcome to come back after we're done. You're gonna come back, let me know, I'll get you. If not, I will see you either for babysitting services or for PA safety. Very good. So, very much. Okay.
And just for the record, your worship, I think at this time, because we're going in camera, I think we will shut the Zoom meeting down, and looking at the agenda, I don't think there's anything else pressing to disclose to the public once we come out of camera. So this might be the end of the transition for the evening.
Do you want a motion to go into camera?
Just give it one. Time. So the 8:09 motion can be carried, please.
I'll make that motion that we go in camera at 8:09.
But Councilor Osborne, second, please. Second, Councilor Roots. We are now in camera. Mr. Vaughn, thank you again. Thank you all.
Oh, you made it?
Good luck. Oh, yeah.
You can stay.
I thought you were moving.
They want to check that, the definition of privilege.